Hello, welcome to episode 157 in the Datapack tutorial series, version 1.2.1.4. We're going to be doing torches that burn out. This was a request by Knildragon. I'm going to guess it's Knildragon. It's got a KN at the beginning, so I'm going with silent K. Let me show you what I mean. Let's put down a torch. There it is. Oh, and it burnt out. Okay, now the little flame you can just see halfway up, that is just me testing. We'll remove that later, so we won't have that flame. So we've got a torch, we put them down. They don't last very long. Now, Knildragon said 5 minutes, so you're mining through the caves, you're putting torches down, and as you're going through the caves, the torches are just popping off behind you, which sounds quite terrifying, actually, to be honest, because I love to light everything up. One of my favourite mods is this, so I can see exactly where things can spawn. So this, to me, is a bit scary. I've set the time to 3 seconds, just because it makes it... We don't want to put a torch down and then I say, right, we'll come back in 5 minutes and we'll see it pop off. We just want a quick time, but we can easily adjust the time. Okay, so that's what we're going to be making. I did try it with item frames first, as in use an item frame and then detect the item frame on the floor. But the problem with that is then you need to account for every torch that someone picks up from a chest, so you've got a load of loot tables to adjust. You need to account for any torches that people break, so you have to change them. And it turned into a lot of work, so we're going to be using a raycast, and we're just going to raycast when we place a torch. And it seems, fingers crossed, to be working quite well. Anyway, enough waffling there, let's get on and build it now. Okay, here we are in VS Code, let's have a look at the folders and files. So inside my namespace, we've got an advancement folder where we've got our advancement, and we've got inside our namespace, we've got the function folder. We've got a subfolder torch where I'm putting all my functions, and we're going to use the loader, the tick as well. And inside my namespace, we have tags block torch.json. That's because there's two types of torch. We have a torch and we have a wall torch, and we need to be able to detect both. So we're just going to create our own little list there. Right. Where should we start? I think we'll start with load because we've got some scores. So we want an age of a torch so we can increment that, and when it gets to a certain age, pop, we remove it. So let's do scoreboard, objectives, add, and we'll call it torch age. And that's going to be a dummy. And I like to put settings in here as well. So if I need to change anything, I don't have to go digging through the code. I know my settings are here. I'm not going to lay it out nicely or anything. I'm just going to slap it straight underneath here. Scoreboard players set, and we'll call it max torch age 60. So torch will live for 60 ticks. And now if you wanted to change the time, we can just change this number here. And we want a distance that the raycast will go. And we'll have scoreboard objectives add, and I'm just going to call it value. And then we could use that for other things as well if we wanted. And then the fake player's name will be something like raycast distance. So it'd be raycast distance value. And we'll set that as a dummy. Okay. Right, that's that done. And now I think we're probably good to start with the advancement. Let's check when we're placing a torch. That seems to be what's going to kick everything off. Yeah, let's go over to Misode. And let's see if I can get this. Remember how to get this working. So we're going to have, I think, 2 criteria, because remember we've got torch and wall torch. So if I'm checking if the player places a torch and then they put a wall torch down, it's not going to trigger. So we want both of those. So let's call the criteria placed wall torch. I think that will do for this one. Let's add that. And let's create another one as well called placed torch. So we've got 2 criteria. Now they're both going to be triggered by the same thing, which is going to be placed block. And let's do that one as well. Placed block. And they're both going to have the same conditions. Conditions, location, location. The condition at that location would be a block state property. So let's do that for both. Block state property. And we're going to check the block. So this one is going to be checking for torch. Now, I could probably use my probably use my tag list of blocks. But I'm doing it this way because I've never really used this sort of requirements and multiple criteria. We did it once in a video, but I thought, let's do it again, just so we can see how it works. So this one is checking for a torch. Let's place block property. Ah, no, look, this condition is placed wall torch. So let's make sure we do the same one there. Let's say this is placed wall torch. And this one will be placed torch. If we could spell the incredibly hard word of torch. So we've got 2 separate criteria. Now let's have the requirements. Now we'll have an entry, and in that entry we'll say placed torch, and in that entry we'll also say placed wall torch. So we need to fulfill one of these. Now if we took that out of there and created a new entry, like this, now we would have to fulfill both. We don't want that. We only want to fulfill one of them. So let's get rid of that one. Let's add that in there. So now if I place torch or place wall torch, I should get my reward, and it will be a function, and we'll do what we normally do and just put a placeholder in there. Okay, so that looks all right. Have a little look at that. 2 criteria. If either is fulfilled, we will run the function as it is. Okay, let's pop that in there. It seems happy. My function, I called it the same thing, placed torch advancement, placed torch function. As always, it's just so it makes it much easier to know what it's going to run. Just runs the one with the same name. Okay, that looks good. So let's do a bit of a test on that. Let's go to place torch. We'll revoke the advancement. Advancement, revoke at S, only, start typing my namespace, place torch, and let's just say hi, save. Okay, let's go back, do a reload. Let's F5, let's put a torch down. Hi, perfect. Let's get a block. So let's put a wall torch down, clear chat. That's not clearing chat, F3D. Okay, great. So wall torch, yep, it's detecting both of those. Right, so the game now says, oh, you've just placed a torch, and now it knows that we should run our raycast. So let's finish off placed torch. Start the raycast, or set the raycast max distance. Okay, so we'll do scoreboard, players, set, max. Oh, no, max, not max. We need let's call it ray distance. That would be a much better name. Ray distance value, and we'll set that to 64. And we'll start the raycast. So let's execute, anchored to the eyes, positioned a little bit in front. That should actually be touching that. There we go. We will run function raycast. Save that. Okay, so now we're going to zoom off to the raycast. Decrement the distance check. Okay, so this is to stop the raycast just going on forever, which obviously we don't want. And in fact, actually in here, we're going to need to check our block list. So let's make our block list first. Torch.json, and this is just a list of blocks. So let's just type this ourselves. Values. Minecraft torch. Minecraft wall torch. There we go. Save that. So now we can reference this tag list and it'll check for both of those blocks. Let's close that. Back to raycast. Decrement the distance. Yep, we don't want it going forever. So let's scoreboard. Players remove ray distance value 1. Let's find a torch. Now, we can't just find the torch, because what I might be doing is I might put a torch here. Well, let's do it with actual torch. I might put a torch here. That's fine. And then my raycast will go zoom towards that torch and find it. And then I might put a torch here. and it will zoom towards that torch and find it. Both of those are fine. Now, my raycast actually might still be running because we haven't stopped it. But if I put a torch here and then put one behind it, my raycast is going to find the torch that's in front. So we're going to have some sort of check that says, okay, well, if we've already done this torch, don't do it again. Keep going. I wonder if my raycast is just running forever now. Right. No, because we're not calling it again. That's cool. Okay. So let's find a torch. So we'll execute if block at the raycast coordinates is on the torch list. So ID YT torch is a torch from the list. Then I'm going to align to the X, Y, and Z. So I am going to find a torch, and then we're going to go to the lowest X, Y, and Z corner. So if we look, that's positive X, that's positive Z. So we're going to align our command down to this corner. Well, we look on this block, not the highest, we want the lowest. So it's down here. We're running the command in this corner. And then what we're going to do is move it to the middle of the block. So we're going to add 0.5, 0.5, and up 0.5. Then we know exactly where the marker is going to be, because we're going to position the marker exactly in the center of the block as well. So we've moved it. Now we've moved it to the corner. Now we'll position it right in the center of the block. Okay. And we'll say, unless there is an entity at E whose type equals Minecraft marker, whose tag equals isTorch, whose distance equals less than 0.1. So we are saying, well, if there is a torch there, keep going. Unless there is a marker already existing in the dead center of this block, then we will run, return, run. So we will exit the function, but before we do, we will run another function, place marker. Okay. And now we'll run this function again. So if these criteria here pass, we're gonna exit this function. So we'll never get this far, and we won't call this again. On the other hand, if we've still got a bit of distance left to go, we do want to call it again. So we'll execute if score ray distance value matches 1 or higher, and then we'll move the raycast forward just a little bit, positioned, let's say 0.1, just a little bit, and we will run function. I'll type this and it should autofill that, so it's running itself. Okay, and then it goes back, removes 1 from the raycast value, checks for the torch again, it comes down here, removes 1, keeps going. So if it doesn't find a block, eventually raycast value will equal 0 and this will stop running. That seems good. Okay. We're not actually doing anything though. So let's go to place marker. Place marker. And we just want to place a marker on the torch. So we will execute align to our XYZ. That takes us down to the lowest corner again. And we will run summon a Minecraft marker at those coordinates, but we don't want the lowest corner, we want the center, so we'll add half a block to each coordinate. There we go. And we'll give it a tag. Tags is torch. Okay, and that's the marker we're looking for here. So if we do find a torch and it's already got a marker, ignore it. If it doesn't have a marker, let's give it a marker. Okay. Now, that seems okay. Can we do a little experiment in tick? Let's go to tick and let's do execute at any entity whose type equals marker, run particle. I used flame. Flame is very small, but let's just say flame. S. Let's go back. Let's do a reload. So let's place a torch down. Okay. It was a bit confusing because I've used flame, but you can see our marker there where that lower flame is. And it's not exactly on the torch here, but that doesn't really matter. We don't mind. We are going to be using this as a target to play a sound. That certainly doesn't matter. And we're also going to play a little particle effect. But to be honest, it's close enough. And we don't want to say, well, if the torch is on this wall, then move the marker this way slightly. If the torch is on this wall, move the marker. It's just for a little bit of particle effect is not worth it. Okay, great. Well, we've spotted a problem here. When we remove the torches, our markers are staying. Don't worry, we'll be taking that into account later. Let's do a little bit of a get rid of that stuff. Okay, so we're placing our markers. What about put one there? Okay, and you can see I'm shooting through, and because these already have markers, it's ignoring them, and it's putting in a marker on. Yep, this is all good. Yeah. Let's get rid of those, and let's kill those markers. Right. We don't really need that particle flame. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to comment it out in case we get some problems. We might want to see where the markers are later. Okay, so tick function. We've got our markers. Let's process them. So we will execute. We'll attempt to anyway. Execute as any entity whose type equals a Minecraft marker, whose tag equals is torch. At that entity, run function process marker. Okay. Now let's go over to process marker. Increment the age of the torch. Okay, so we just want to add 1 to its age. And that's what we'll be checking later. So we'll add 1, add 1, add 1. And then when the marker's torch age equals Max's torch age, poof, away it will go. Okay, process marker. So scoreboard, players, add. And we're executing this function as the marker. So we can just say S, torch age, 1. Cool. Remove the torch. Execute if score at S, its torch age is greater than or equal to max torch age. Run function. Remove torch. And let's remove any markers that have no torches, because there is nothing to stop the player popping down the torch, and then before the time runs up, they come and remove the torch themselves, and the marker's left there. So we have to take that into account as well. So remove markers that have no torches. Execute unless block brain freeze is one of my blocks. Run kill S, so it's going to kill the marker. Okay, that we can test now, because that should work now. So let's have a look. So if I put this down at, we're not even getting a marker. Oh, that's because I commented out this. There we go. Wow, such a silly thing. Let's put that back. Okay, there we go. Right, it's there. Break the torch. And the marker goes. Okay, so we've covered that. And we have torch's age going up. So let's do scoreboard, objective, set display, sidebar, facing heat source dip. Oh, look, we've got some old stuff from other tutorials. Torch age is what we're using. So if I pop one down, there we go, its score is going up. When it gets to 60, well, nothing happens at the moment because we haven't set up that function. Okay, let's leave them counting up, and we will go off. Now we'll comment this out again. we will go off to remove torch. Let's remove the torch. Okay, remove the torch. Oh, that's pretty self-explanatory. Now we've checked. Have we checked the age? Here we go. So we're checking the age here. So in remove torch, we shouldn't have to check the age again. So we should just be able to do set block, those coordinates, Minecraft air. Yeah, we'll leave that. Okay, remove the torch marker. Kill the marker. Let's leave it at that for now and test that. So the stick the torch should vanish, and the marker should vanish. Okay. And we're checking for score is the same or over. Yeah. Okay. So if I do a reload, they all have a higher score. So I'm expecting all three of them just to pop off and disappear. Excellent. Okay. What if it's on a wall though? When it gets to 60? Aha. Okay. Perfect. Great. Let's just make it a bit more interesting. Now, I think it'd be nice if the player at least got their stick back. So we'll spawn a stick, and we'll do some. Let's do the effects first because that's easy. Let's just pick a random sound. I want a popping sound. Pop, lava pop. Okay, yeah, that'll do. We'll play it on the block channel. We'll play it for all players. We'll play it at those coordinates. Let's make it a little bit quieter. Let's stick its pitch up a bit so it's a bit more of a pop. And 0, and let's have a particle as well. Particle. Let's just do smoke. You can pick whichever one you want. I'll just use smoke. At those coordinates. Let's do 0.1 on the X. Make it a bit higher on the Y. 0.1 on the Z. No speed. I don't know. 20 particle count. Save that. Might as well test it. Reload. Hey! Oh, got a little click. Pop. You can obviously pick whichever sound and effects you want. Ooh, there we go. Okay, and let's give them back a stick. Spawn a stick. Okay. So I suppose we'll just do summon item. Summon item. Boop, boop, boop. And how do you define the item? We have to capital letter for item, isn't it? Then we'll colon and open and close, and we have to say the ID of the item. ID of the item. Open and close some more curlies. Minecraft stick. Oh, I've put ID inside curly brackets. ID should be in speech marks. Now we used to have to set a count as well. I wonder if you still need to. So you would have to do ID and count 1. Let's try it without a count and see if it defaults to 1, and then we'll know if it does, and then we'll forget and we'll experiment again later. Let's see if it defaults to 1. Okay. Yeah, seems to default to 1, and we get our stick back. Nice, but it just sort of drops onto the floor. So, yeah. Okay. Now let's give it a bit of motion. Easy way to give it motion is, in fact, we could make a loot table, because that when you spawn something with loot, it has a sort of little has a little jump to it. So let's use a loot table to spawn it. Yeah, let's go to Missode. Probably easier. Loot table. There it is. Okay. And we just want to spawn a stick. We don't want to do anything clever. We just want it to spawn a stick all the time. So pools, we'll have a roll of 1. We're going to roll once, and we're going to pick from the entries. The type will be an item. The item will be a stick. That's it, I think. We don't give it a weight, so we don't do anything. That's it. That should always spawn a stick. Now I'm going to do it in line. So I'm going to switch this from tabs to minified, and I've got it as a line there, and I'm going to copy that. Take it back with me, and instead of summoning this item, I'll just comment that out. I am going to loot spawn at those coordinates. I want some loot. Now here I could go off and pick a loot table from the vanilla game or any that I've made, or I can just inline the loot table I just made. Okay. And as I say, the advantage of this is it comes with a little bit of like bouncy animation as it spawns. So let's go back. And have a look. Hey, oh, that's much nicer. Yeah, we've got a bit of a bounce to it. Boing, 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 boing. And it's a bit random. See, they all go off in different directions. So we don't have to program, random left, random right, random all this. We just use a loot table. And I think we're done. Yeah, we've got our torches. We can pop them down. If we break them, then the marker that's there is being killed. We can see that because the age is disappearing as well. So that we know that's working. Great. There we go. Torches. So, just a quick little recap. If you want it to last longer, pop into the load function. And this is the score in ticks. So, however many seconds you want times 20. I thought this was a fun idea. I reckon this would make caving a lot more interesting. As I say, I like to light everything up, and then I know it's all lit. But or you can cave, and you could use glowstone or lanterns and stuff. So you've got to pay a higher price if you want to keep your caves lit up. You can't just go around spamming torches. What would I would probably go around spamming jack-o'-lanterns. Then you just need a pumpkin farm, which is fully automatic, and you just whack your torch into a pumpkin. So it's an extra little bit of complication to make the game a little bit harder. I think this is a really cool idea. So thanks, Knildragon, for the idea. Hopefully this is the sort of thing you had in mind. And everyone else, have a great day. Well, and Knildragon, you have a great day too. Sorry. Everyone have a great day. Me too. And I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.